The smallest car in the South African market that offers you an option of either 5 or 7 seats. The cute, funky Citroën C3 Aircross. Which one would you choose? Savvy investing is best left to the experts. And when it comes to offshore investing, it's even more important to talk to an expert. Well, Earl Don from Forexpert is the guy you should be talking to for your offshore investments. Hi, I'm Alan Ra from MotorMatters, CHANGECARS and all things motoring. This is the Citroën C3 Aircross, the new version, launched very, very recently in South Africa, which of course is the brother to the new C3. A little bit confusing because they're completely different cars to the previous generation and, believe it or not, way cheaper than the previous generation, which I think is really a big factor and makes a very big difference. So what have you got? Well, you cannot miss the double chevron at the center of the bonnet over there to tell you it's a Citroën. It's got also, note the squared Qs everywhere that are typically Citroën as well and have always been to identify as a Citroën. You've got the little silver colored spoiler at the front. You've got these daytime running lights over here. You've got the very short, what they term clamshell type bonnet over here, which Citroën have specifically made slightly raised to give you better visibility from the driver's seat. A feature of all their cars at the moment. Very nice looking alloy wheels over here, the dual color alloys, 17-inch. You can see they fill the arches quite nicely. And talking of the arches, note of course the cladding all the way along. And this is optional, but the extra protective cladding over there with again a little Citroën touch to it, can I call it that? All these little features that you don't forget it's a Citroën. And of course, because it's the SUV or crossover SUV in the range, it has to have roof rails as well. Now let's pop open the back door quickly and let's have a look over here. The driver's seat, as always, is set for myself. Wow. I say wow. Look at this legroom for a crossover SUV. This is impressive. And headroom, way more than adequate for me as well. It is cloth covered seats, so what, I don't mind that. Interesting, the buttons for the rear electric windows are over there. The front ones are on the doors as normal, the back windows are there. I don't think that matters. And again, at this segment of the market, Citroën are giving you 2 USBs in the back seat. That's pretty impressive too. It really is. Those are little features that go a long, long way. A little bit of cloth even on the door trim over here, but obviously not over fancy. But why would it be? Why should you expect it to be? Come around the back, and before we get to the back, note the little extra window in the C-pillar over here. Just an unusual feature, but it does help with visibility. And if you're in the 7-seater version, that would give you extra lighting, extra just feeling of lightness when you're in the back seat. Now come round to the rear. You've got a spoiler over the top of the rear hatch, but also the smoked effect. Notice a lot of black effect in the tail lights. But there's something interesting. You've got that over there, but note that the lights are only in the rear quarter panels and not in the tailgate. Could be a big factor if you need repairs. Could make a very, very big difference. Now, let's have a look at the boot. Remembering this is the 5-seater version, obviously in 7-seater you can have very limited boot space. Citroën quote a figure of 444 litres of boot space in the 5-seater. That's big. For a car in this category, it's actually very big, I have to tell you. And as soon as I get over here, let's have a look. And I'm not going to move the board, but I can tell you that this size boot on the Allen test, and I know I did the Allen test on the launch video, is at least a 1.5 Allen boot. At least. It's big for this category of car, and I think that makes a difference. There is a bit of a load ledge over here, whatever you want to call it, that you do have to lift over so the boot floor is not level with the rear panel over here, but again, it's not that big a deal. Well, whether you choose 5 or 7-seater, they're both powered by the Stellantis 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine that puts out 81 kilowatts and 205 newton meters of torque in this application. And something else that's very, very interesting about this car. Front wheel drive, yes. At the moment, automatic only, yes. But compared to everything else in this category that has a CVT automatic gearbox, this one has a good old-fashioned torque converter 6-speed automatic. Just an interesting difference between the C3 Aircross and its competitors. So just keep that in mind. So let's check it out on the road, for example. Cruising on the road in the Citroën C3 Aircross. Now we're on our way to Paris for a change because it's a weekend. MotorMatters road trip, why not? And I've got to tell you, this little Aircross is really, besides the spec level, the nice 10-inch screen it's got is standard, it's light, it's easy, it's comfortable. The 1.2 litre engine, 81 kilowatts, 205 newton meters of torque. And the one standout feature that Citroën have put into this little car is the fact that the automatic gearbox, 6-speed, it's a torque converter, not a CVT, as basically every other car in this category is. But what it really stands out to me is typical Citroën. So you've got the nice little flat bottom steering wheel, got plain, simple, not complicated digital instrumentation in front of me, which tells me what I want to know, what I want to see. And let's just comment. We've now done 185 kilometers, let's call it. 60 of it was urban, just urban driving around town. And the overall figure so far is 6.9 liters per 100. I can guarantee you by the time we do the return trip, it's going to be lower than that. It was on 8.2 for the urban driving when I left home. So just give you an example and an idea of where it's going already. So it's going to be impressive, I can tell you that much. But it's neat, it's different, it's Citroën, so it's funky, and I like that. It's just got everything I want in a crossover SUV, including the ground clearance. And of course, as you may or may not know, with Citroën, it's about the price. So that's what makes the difference over here. This car is value for money. It is a lightish car, you can feel it on rare occasions, but overall I must tell you, in this market segment, this stands out in my book, very, very much so. You'll see all the features on it a little bit later in the video.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm the owner of CHANGECARS and the host of the TV show All Things Motoring. I have one mission, and that is to make a difference to the motoring public. Making a difference how? Making sure that you have safe options, making sure that you have knowledge. In that regard, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to work with Alan Rosenmeyer of MotorMatters. The man with a hat, I'm the man with no hat, he's the man with the knowledge. Thank you for watching.
Jumping in behind the wheel, you've got your digital instrumentation. It's basic, but again, what do you want from a car in this category, from your crossover SUV? But what is pertinent is look at the numbers over there. 409 kilometers covered, 6.8 liters per 100. Now, this is a good mix we've done on this test because we did do our trip to Paris, so open road and cruising at a good lick, and we've done urban driving. So I'm pretty sure any driver can match these numbers without any hassle or effort or pressure. By the way, before you comment, the red spanner over there in the left corner says the car is due for a service in 180 kilometers time. That's what that's about. Okay, no problem, no pressure, no stress. You've got your buttons on your steering wheel over here, as you would expect, the normal sort of buttons. And no, I have been asked along the way, the car does not have cruise control. But I don't think you have to expect that in this category or in this segment of the market. So I don't think that's a major negative either. Moving over to the 10-point-something inch center screen over here. It's a really nice screen, looks good. And believe it or not, you have got wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on this car as well. Of course, it just decides not to connect now. You know me, I prefer using a cable anyway, but I have used it considerably on this test, and I can tell you it has worked, and it works well. But the screen is there. Your reverse camera is got guidelines. It's decent, it's not incredible, but it certainly does the job you want. You come down over here, and you've got your good old-fashioned aircon controls. Again, effective, work well. That's all I can ever ask for. And over here, you've got one USB and a 12 volt for the front. Over here is a nice little shelf for your cell phone, or it can go down over there, and 2 cup holders expected. And a slightly old-fashioned gear lever in that you jig and jag it, can I call it? It's not a straight gate, but you know what? You put it in drive, you drive. I really don't see what the issue is. And you can put it into a manual Tiptronic mode. If the mood catches you, I don't really know why it would. Manual, good old-fashioned handbrake. You've got the interesting dashboard where you've got this sort of roll effect over here, which is very typically Citroën from some of the other models. And notice the two-tone coloring as well on the dash and even on the doors as well. So you've got that. The seats, cloth covered seats, are very comfortable in typical French fashion. Exactly what you expect from a French car, quite honestly. Slightly squishy, but not extremely, not uncomfortable at all. In fact, extremely comfortable in my book. And that goes a long way. You've even got height adjustment in the driver's seat. Now, I'm pointing out a lot of these features for the simple reason that you've got to look at the price of the car. I've mentioned it's a crossover SUV. I've mentioned the fact that it's probably the only one in this category that gives you a conventional torque converter automatic gearbox instead of the old, what most others have, being a CVT in this category. Now the price, taking into account that Stellantis have decided that Citroën is their price leader when it comes to the South African market, and that it's their value brand. And by the way, I'd forgotten to show you, you even get your airplane type driver's armrest over there on the driver's seat. Little extra feature that I really didn't expect. So, what's the money? Well, 5-seater, 345,000 Rand. 7-seater, a whole extra 10,000 Rand. 355,000 Rand. If that's not value for money in the South African market today, what is? I'll leave it there. For MotorMatters, Chain Cars, and all things motoring, I'm Alan R. I'll see you next time.